Welcome back to the Perfect Lap Podcast. I'm Mark Yeager. I go by Yeager. This is Mark Kilgore. He goes by Kilgore. And guess what? Today, we're here talking about the 2025 time attack season that is upon us. We're going to be talking about global time attack. We're going to be talking about Gridlife. And we're going to be talking about SCCA time attack. And we're going to give you all the information, all the dates, what's going on. And basically, just kind of get you wrapped up, ready, roaring for this 2025 season. Although, as I know, I'm in Southern California, which means the season never ended. I was at Buttonwillow in December, in January, and guess what? Weather's still great. PBs are still being set, by myself included. Kilgore, how about you? How's the weather out there?
It's cold. They were just talking about some possible snow this weekend. So it is by far the off season here in Nashville, Tennessee, as well as generally in the Southeast, Midwest, all those sorts of places. But first and foremost, Yeager, Happy New Year to you. It is 2025. Man, I'm excited. This is always sort of the year, like time of year where I enjoy it because it's like I'm planning upgrades. I'm thinking about, okay, what am I going to be doing for the next season? What changes do I need on the car? And like compiling parts, right? Like stockpiling to get them all ready and then putting them on and then being able to go out for a new season and see if you can do better. See if you can set new PBs. I just think it's always fun. I enjoy this time of the year, even though you're missing out on some of the racing, at least most of us. Please feel free, you can rub it in as much as you want. Like you guys there during this winter season, you guys still keep running, but let's be real, June, July, August, you guys run for like 3 hours in the morning and then you're done, because by then it's like 100 degrees and you're like, all right, well, track's hot and greasy now. So so there's trade-offs. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, I will say during those July and August month time frames, that's kind of our off season per se. Just because, I mean, you can go to the track, you can test that coolant system at the track, but when it comes down to like putting in PBs and stuff like that, the likelihood of putting down a PB when it's 112, it just not likely to happen, and it's going to be really, really rough. I mean, one of the other things that you should be doing in the off season is looking to acquire new sponsorship, right? So should be
Absolutely.
acquiring new sponsorships, and just like that, Perfect Lab Podcast now has a sponsor. We thank Wush Automotive for jumping on and being a part of our team here at the Perfect Lab Podcast. We're really excited. We're going to give way more detail and more information, but we're going to wait. We're going to wait till we actually get our hands on some of these Wush bespoke wheels. We're going to give you a little taste into what they are and what they're about, but overall, basically what we got going on is we have some amazing products from Wush Automotive that I think are quite awesome to check out. They are some Wush bespoke wheels, and me and Kilgore are both going to get a set, and we both have behemoths of cars that we're going to put these things on and put them through their paces. So do us a favor, go check out Wush Automotive, go check out their wheels. They had a Mustang, so I'm of course a fanboy already. Kilgore is going to go put them on a BMW and try to beat the crap out of them. And we're just really excited to have them be a part of the team. And we're excited to get them on our cars and really put them through their paces out at the racetrack.
That's right, Yeager. Yeah, I'm going to be running 2 sets this year. So that is something that I've wanted to do this for this upcoming season. I wanted to be able to sort of have a practice set of tires that I could run in the first couple days, and then obviously for Gridlife, you have the first day, and the format is changing a little bit. We can talk about that here in a little coming up, but the format will be changing just a little bit. But for the first like day or day and a half, I want to run a practice set, And then when the weather and the time, when the weather is good and the times are really going to get fast, I want to have a second set of wheels and tires that are sort of my competition set, if that's what you want to call it, right? That
It's the
have
way to go.
fewer heat cycles and are going to be able to set faster times. So, with that being said, Wush Automotive, with their bespoke forged wheels, are going to allow me to do that. So I'm excited for that as well. They've got some cool colors. They can do pretty much custom colors. They're pretty much fully customizable wheels. You can do any size. You can specify your back spacing. You can do colors. They have some other cool options in terms of engraving, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they are competitively priced. As Jaeger said, we're going to get our hands on them. We're going to let you guys know what we think, and we appreciate Wush Automotive coming on board.
Heck yeah. All right, let's dive into it, guys. What we got. So our first sanctioning body, our first organization that we're going to be checking out, we're going to check out Global Time Attack. Global Time Attack has got 4 events this year, and we're going to put them up on the screen here for you video watching folks. We got the Global Time Attack 2025 schedule, and this is always something that is kind of crazy to me on so many levels at the same time, and that is their first event of the year is COTA, is Super Lap Battle. So, you know, when you think of like football, baseball, World Series, I mean, realistically, any other style of racing, usually the pinnacle moment happens at the very end. That's the last event of the season. But it's interesting in Time Attack and how this is, because for GTA, they are putting their pinnacle event, their quintessential biggest and baddest event of the year right out the gate. Which I'm going to tell you right now, for anybody, and tell me if I'm wrong, Kilgore, tell me if I'm wrong, but most of the time, you are not prepared by April 13th and 12th. April 12th and 13th is the Circuit of the Americas Super Lap Battle event. April 12th and 13th, when I say you're not prepared, I don't mean you're not like ready at all, but a lot of people go through the entire year refining their setups, right? Changing things, working through different problems, going through and doing stuff like that before they get to that like pinnacle event. Now, with one big arcing caveat, in Time Attack, we are a bunch of really, really, really smart people, and so we usually push our cars to the limit. So maybe it's a very good strategic decision to put it as the first event of the year out in April and just have it so that people's cars are fresh. Maybe.
You can argue this anyway, and I totally agree with you, Jaeger. I think it's awesome that it's the first event of the year. To your point, like, this is just my opinion. Super Lap Battle for me is sort of the pinnacle Time Attack event here in the U.S. currently. I know we have GTA Finals, and I think it's a bit of a toss-up between those. And I think we've talked about this a little bit before on the podcast, but I will lean Super Lap Battle only for the fact that, in my opinion, the grandeur of COTA, the facilities, the event itself lends itself a little bit more to being a bigger event, just in my opinion. But with that being said, I also understand like finals, right? Like that's been around for a long time. You have a lot of history there. But you are absolutely correct in that people show up with their cars thrashing on it to the last night, showing up still needing to kind of finish a few things before they go out on track, which we've talked about. You should not be showing up to the biggest event of the year still needing things to be done on the car. You should plan out, practice sessions. You should plan, your car should be ready, but let's be real, like that just doesn't happen for some of us. It is what it is. But at least this year, you actually have like an additional month In years past, it's been run in March. They've now actually pushed that back to April. So you at least have a little bit more time, but that just means we're only going to procrastinate a month longer before we start working on the car, right?
Well,
But
hopefully it gives people that little bit of extra time, just that little bit of
hopefully.
extra, and that'll make the big difference. I also think, personally, I think weather factors, I think it's actually going to be a better weather condition for when we go there. My opinion, I just think it's going to overall be better. Watch, I'm going to like jinx it into submission now, and it'll like rain the entire time or some crazy crap like that. But like you said, right? People getting ready, people doing things. We showed up last year. I can't remember the guy's name off the top of my head. Red Subaru. That's what I remember, people. They were working on his car the entire weekend. I think he ended up getting like one total lap in. Ferris showed up, and he was decimated from working on the car for the entire time, basically to try to even get it there, and didn't even turn a lap. He just showed up and showed off the car. I mean, it was just a lot of people that just, weren't quite ready yet. So I'm hoping the extra month really helps people, get out there, get ready, be ready. Like you said,
that could also be such an advantage though to you if you are ready. If you're ready, your car's prepped. That means that as always, you're focused on setting your fastest time, where maybe some of your competitors are still struggling through with a tune or getting the suspension set up correct, or they're fighting some other sort of electrical gremlin, etc. If you've got your stuff together, that can definitely be a big advantage for you.
Oh, absolutely. And beyond, I'm going to say this, right? So that is actually, we're going to cover, obviously, like we already talked about, GTA, Gridlife, and the SCCA. There is only one other event prior to Super Lap Battle, and that's an SCCA event in Las Vegas. So from a stance of preparation, like we talked about, this kind of puts everybody on the same strategy. Like, they basically know by mid-April they need to be ready to go out and time attack at the highest levels.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
my opinion is that this is kind of a really good move for GTA, to move it into that realm. Is it a little bit close to Gridlife's first event, being the fact that their first event is
Also on the same date?
Yeah.
I will say this April 12th, 13th date seems to be very popular because all three organizations have an event on that same date. And I'm a little frustrated by it, but it is what it is. Those things happen. They've always done a pretty good job of not stepping on each other. But this year, you've got Super Lap Battle at Coda. You've got Carolina Motorsports Park at Gridlife, which is going to be their first event of the year. And then you have the SCCA Road America event, which was a pretty big event for them last year. So those three events, which I'm also wondering for the NATA, North American Time Attack Council, North American Time Attack. I think that's what it is.
NATA, yeah.
Yeah, for NATA, like I'm a little interested. I have not seen anything from them, but I'm a little interested to kind of see what they do. Which one of those events, if any, do they pick as a NATA event that counts towards the championship? So that'll be interesting. Something interesting to see.
Yeah, I am a little, as I'll say this now, I'm a little disappointed in the organizers for not recognizing that and not making that to be as such. Like, I wish that they would work together to not have events at the same time. Now, I will say, we got one in South Carolina, we got one in Texas, and one in Wisconsin. So, is that geographically separated enough? What is that, like South, Midwest, Mid-America, and then North, and then kind of over to the East? Like,
yeah.
If maybe they would have gone like West Coast, East Coast, And mid, maybe I'd appreciate that a little bit more. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to complain too much. So for us, that's going to completely suck. Because we have to pick one, essentially. For me, I'm probably going to be going to Super Lap Battle. That'll be an event that I physically go and attend. I believe you plan on going to Super Lap Battle as well. So we'll get some awesome coverage from Super Lap Battle for everybody. But it does suck from the other event perspective because we just physically can't be at two locations at the same time. We're not Jackie Ding.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It is. I keep going back and forth because, as I've said, Super Lap Battle for me is the big event of the year. And last year, I went. Obviously, both of us went. I loved it. It was awesome.
It was amazing.
And I want to go back. Yeah.
Yeah.
I really want to go back. The only thing is that I'm going to be running Gridlife Street GT again this year. I want to be even more competitive, so I'm making more changes to the car. The CMP event is one of the closer events for me for Gridlife, but you know, there's other events to go to, and the only other thing is because I have to run in street in Global Time Attack, my car isn't as competitive as it could be because of some of the limitations that I have to run for Street GT, right? I have to run stock turbos. I can't really run. I can't run any aftermarket aero. So the car does reasonably well. I mean, it's still a pretty fast car, and this is of course one of the things I love about Time Attack in general is there's always a race within the race, right?
Yeah.
What I mean by that is there you can always race yourself. I'm going to go back and have a second year at Coda. I've been, you know, I've been there before. I got some track time. I want to go back. Also, I will have made some changes to the car. So I kind of want to see if I can do better, right? Like there's always that drive. I want to see if I can beat myself, but then there's also the competition with other drivers. So even though I may not be as competitive as I want within the street class, I can still see, look, can I knock 2 or 3 seconds off my previous time, go from a 225 to maybe get down into the low 220s, right? Like that would sort of be my own personal goal. And even with that, like I could still maybe get a top 5, top 7, you know, finishing position, which I still think would be quite reasonable if you're talking about a stock turbo car with factory aero. Like I'd be pretty happy with that. But anyway, I keep going back and forth. I haven't decided yet.
You know what they say,
unsure.
when you find yourself in the quandary of what to do, just keep upgrading and it will figure itself out.
That's right.
So, like we talked about, right? Super Lap Battle 2025, April's 12th and 13th, which is in direct competition with Gridlife at South Carolina, April 11th through 13th, as well as Road America with SCCA's Time Attack Challenge going on April 12th and 13th. So, April 12th and 13th, busy time in Time Attack. Then GTA turns around, and we're going to stretch it all the way to June, and they're going to go up to the good old Colorado to PPIR, which I always say that wrong, so I'm going to say that very slow. And it's a pretty interesting event. I will say this. It's not my favorite track. It is not a track that I look at and think, this looks so amazing, I can't wait to go there. But with what they don't offer with an amazing track, they do offer amazing prizes and interesting competition.
Yep,
so
that's true.
Everyone got a little bit of taste of it last year, and eventually we'll kind of get into Ascend and what all that looks like in terms of pre the event. But they did a very interesting event where people had a chance to walk away with like literal cash money, and not like $300, but like thousands of dollars.
Big checks. We got big checks.
Big checks, which in time attack, not very common. So that could be an event that draws people just purely off the concept of, hey, there's money involved. There's money up for grabs. And, but again, I will say this, again, June 27th and 28th, guess who's also doing an event on June 27th through 28th?
Who's that, Jaeger?
Gridlife.
Oh, man.
So Gridlife's throwing down at Mid-Ohio that same exact weekend. And I've never been to either, so I can't say definitively. But, I mean, eventually we'll talk to some people, and maybe they'll give us some input on which one would you rather go to from a track organization. Have you been to one, the other, or both?
So I went to Mid-Ohio last year with Gridlife. And the track itself, fantastic.
Okay.
Really, really, really enjoyed it. And my car did quite well there. I don't know, like, I don't think it's like a BMW specific or I don't really think it's like a BMW specific track, but BMWs have always sort of known to do pretty well there. And I spent some time on the simulator. Also spent some time watching videos, and I showed up there, and that was really one of the first times that I like showed up and was on pace and did really well. I ended up in 5th out of that weekend, so fairly happy with that. But the only thing that I was surprised about was, while the track, as good as the track was, the facilities for being a like quote pro track were a little surprising as to how
little rundown,
how rundown and poor they were, as well as even just the paddock itself, like from the top of the paddock to the bottom of the paddock, where you basically go to where pit lane is. It's fairly significantly sloped.
Oh.
Yeah, it was just something that I was like, it was a little odd. I was like, okay, this like they have like IndyCar here. They have like the IMSA, GT4, GT3 cars here and running, and I'm just sort of like looking around like I can't imagine what it's like with some of the IndyCar teams here in their big rigs and how they fit everybody into this somewhat small space. It was a little surprising. Regardless, had a really good time, and I really enjoy Mid-Ohio. I'm looking forward to going back. I will be doing Mid-Ohio at Gridlife for that weekend. That's set in stone there.
Nice.
So, yep.
Yeah, it's again, when these organizations have these events on the same weekend, which I get it, right? It's hard enough to plan your own events. And really like put together a full season, and to make sure your events are not on, trying to not a time attack, especially you're trying to not have rainy season. Essentially, you're also trying to put yourself in a situation where it's not going to be swelteringly hot or blisteringly cold. So you're trying to find all these places, which essentially is going to kind of group these events all together as a whole. It is going to be what it is going to be, but it does kind of segment people out and make people have to make decisions on which event they're going to go to. So again, we're going to have that fun of, PPIR Ascend at the same time as Gridlife Mid-Ohio. And then we're going to turn around and we're going to go to a track that I went to last year, Speed Summit at the Ridge in Washington, good old Shelton, Washington, which was a pretty cool thing because it allows the Canadian guys an easy, jaunt across the border, hop on over and check out a really awesome and interesting track. I was really happy with that track. Checking it out, like I really wanted to get on it in a car and drive it. I just thought it was such an amazingly cool track. I think that track is not getting any bit of the accolades that it really should. From a time attack perspective, It is astounding. That could be literally one of the premier tracks for time attack in North America. The facilities are growing. I will say this, one of the like negative factors is where they placed the drift paddock. They just need to move it. Like they just need to move it away from the garages, because as an announcer at the event, I kept wondering, why are all the garages closed? All these guys keep closing their garages, and it's just weird to me. And talking to the participants, they're like, yeah, we keep having to close it because the drift guys, like, I keep getting all this rubber in the garage, not to mention the fact that the noise from the cars, he's like, it's just deafening. Like, you're just trying to have a conversation. You can't do it. I understand drifting is a motorsport, and people love it, and it brings fans out. But, man, does it make it tough for these guys going over data and trying to make fine adjustments and do stuff like that. So, made it a little bit tough for those guys. And, again, what do I see? August 16th and 17th in Washington.
Is there another conflict, Jaeger?
There is. But I will say, I'll give him this one. This is the Circuit Legends event at Lime Rock Park, and that is August 15th through 17th. So, I will say this is kind of East Coast, West Coast, right? There's going to be guys that are on one or the other. So I think this is one of those situations where I could completely be okay with this. Would I like to see every single person go to every single one of these events? Abso-freaking-lutely. I think it'd be awesome to watch all these competitors kind of get out there and really compete at all these events. Is it realistic? Not even close. But again, it's an interesting one. When the Circuit Legends, that's kind of a really interesting and cool event. It's at an amazing... I will say, Gridlife does an amazing job about picking all the tracks that myself... Like, when I played video games back in the day, and, like, you like, played all the cool tracks, they do pick many of the tracks that I would have been like, yeah, I want to go there. Minus places like Chicagoland, Autobahn Club, and there's some weird ones there. There's weird ones, but again, GTA does the same thing. Like PPIR, I never would have chose that out of the top of my hat, but they do an amazing job of picking a bunch of really cool tracks. If you're a time attack enthusiast and looking for, if you're just trying to find really, like, to me, that was kind of one of those cool factors back in the day was, like, I want to go to places like, I wanted to go to Road Atlanta because to me that was like a historic, like, iconic track. Like, you could go on to any of the video games and play, and it was something that was really, really cool to me. After driving the track, I didn't think it was a very good time attack track. So I wasn't too sad when I saw GTA's schedule and saw they dropped Road Atlanta. That was something that definitely did not dishearten me. Something that I always felt was, after being there once, I was like, I don't need to go again. And then I went there again and then said, I definitely never need to go back to this track again. Unless I'm wheel-to-wheel racing, then it's a completely different story and it'd be a completely awesome track to go to. But from a time attack perspective, I just don't see it. It did make for some iconic pictures going through the S's, but from a time attack perspective, it was like I went through the S's once, and now I'm just who has the most horsepower down the back straightaway, the other straightaway, and then this other straight. I don't know. Just didn't make any sense to me. Not a track that I really saw as like an iconic track. And when they shared it with drifting, that was kind of cool because you got a lot of spectators out there. It was really interesting to see all the people, but we were the sideshow. They kind of didn't care. So I don't know, something there.
I agree with you. I like Road Atlanta. I always like when there's an event at Road Atlanta, mainly because of the location in terms of proximity to where I live. And it is a pretty iconic track for sure.
Yes,
a lot
absolutely.
of people have heard about it, but I do agree with you that it's fun, but like, I don't think it really, for me, I don't think it really rivals like as one of the top tracks in the U.S.
Agreed.
Do I think it could be like top 10? Sure. Yeah. Do I think it's top 5?
And especially when you're talking about
not.
Time attack. I do very much specify time
for
attack.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We're talking about like lapping the track, right, and trying to set that perfect lap. I think it's okay. But I agree with you. It's just sort of to me from that perspective. It's got some decent elevation changes, which is
Oh,
nice.
massive
Um,
elevation.
yeah, and and it's got some cool sectors, but then it's like, yeah, you do turns 2, 3, 4 through 5, right? Like that through that 4 through 5, that's the S's. But then, like as you said, you're on a straight to a right hand turn at
To
turn
straight,
6
to another
to a
straight.
yeah, to a very short straight, then to a right hand turn to 7, and then it's just a long straightaway. It's not really straight, but like right, like it's a long straightaway down to turn 10 A and B. But even then, that's just like a chicane, right? Like I mean, it's a heavy braking zone, but it's like a left,
Yeah.
then a right, then up over a hill down to turn 12. Turn 12 is pretty fun. Like
Yeah.
it takes some commitment and
Yes,
some
it
building
does.
up to, um, but then like that's it, right? Like you're kind of done, and it's just I don't know. People may blast us for it, and please do, right? Like
Yeah.
let us
Let us
know.
have it. Let us have
Yeah,
it.
that's fine.
My
But
my question always is so so well, we'll finish this up first. Well, so at the end of the day, so they're going back to the standard same old stuff. GTA Finals 2025 at good old Buttonwillow Raceway. You know, the king of time attack land per se.
the OG.
The OG itself on November 8th and 9th, which I do believe, let me double check before I say, it is the last event of the year. So GTA does do a very good job of being one of the first and one of the last, or it is the last time attack event of the year as a whole, right? So that's a really big thing in terms of just you have a span of the entire year. It is what it is. Get out there, run time attack with them, have a good time. Awesome events to be had, and I'm gonna say this right. So they're in Texas, they're in Colorado, they're in Washington, and they're in California. So I don't particularly say they're not. What is that,
That's a
like
pretty good spread.
mid country and west? Like
Yep,
so, I think.
they're like on the
I think
western half of the U.S. You could say.
yeah, they're on the western half, right? So, but there's something there for everybody, and I think enough people could get there if they wanted to go to those events. So
Yep.
now let's take a look at good old Gridlife. So Gridlife has quite a few more events. They do have 9. So we already talked about the conflicts. I'm gonna be obviously reaching here, so I'm gonna be reaching for Kilgore to give me all the answers. But so you got South Carolina, Carolina's Motorsports Park, CMP.
Yep.
That's their first event of the year. They're coming out swinging. Good track, bad track. Anything amazing about it?
Um, it is an okay track. Um, so it is what you would consider to be like a club level track.
Okay,
Um,
like a button
uh,
willowy.
yeah, like a Button Willow. It doesn't really have like any great, major facilities.
Okay,
There's a lot of land out there, but like, um, this is just I don't know. I don't know. You can say that maybe I'm a little pretentious or whatever, but like they don't really have a lot of asphalt to park on,
oh, a lot of dirt
and
parking, huh?
yeah. Like having to they have a limited number of garages, and when I say garages, basically they have a limited number of covered parking areas. It's really more of like a big pavilion where they have numbered spaces that there might be 20 to 30. There's probably like 30 spaces, maybe
So they
40
took all their
spaces.
cues from Button Willow and didn't
Pretty much,
provide
yeah.
enough concrete. They
Yeah.
didn't provide enough garages.
Yeah.
Um, have a decent track that's kind of fun, but
Yeah.
I meant to say one thing. I'm a little disappointed in GTA for the fact that Buttonwillow itself has a brand new track that they're opening up, I believe, this year, and they didn't get on the schedule for that very first year.
Yeah, that is unfortunate. That's disappointing.
But I digress. We'll move on. But let us know in the comments, what do you think about that? Should Gridlife or GTA jumped right on that? SCCA, should they have jumped right on that? Been the first to have that event at that new track? Let us know. Let us know. So,
yep. So South Carolina's an okay track. It flows pretty well.
okay.
There's not a lot of elevation change. It's pretty flat. There's some slight elevation change to it. It does have a very quick turn that's on the back straight where you have a kink. Depending on your car, Miatas, lower horsepower cars, or some of the Club TR cars like the BRZs, the Twins. Those are probably flat out through it. You're hitting just at 100, 105. And the faster cars like my car and like the Corvettes, you're approaching that turn at about 130. So you're maybe braking, maybe just letting off the throttle and letting the car settle and kind of turn in, but you're also hitting a curb. So like it's a pretty fun turn, and it definitely takes some commitment to kind of build up to. But yeah, reasonably fun track. And but it's okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to move on from South Carolina, we're going to go to Gridlife, and they decided to pick up the Road Atlanta date essentially from GTA.
That's right.
So they are in the cahoots with Formula Drift, and this is the Formula Drift / Gridlife event essentially that's going to be going on. I'll be very interested, and I'm very interested to see if they're going to do like a live stream at this event or anything like that. Obviously, I don't think they can do. I mean, I'm looking at the schedule just like if you guys are looking at the schedule with us. So on certain events like Midwest Festival, Laguna Festival,
yeah,
they only have two.
I think I know where you're going with this, and I think that those are artifacts left over from last year.
Okay.
Because so that was one thing. So Gridlife last year I think had 11 events, but they only had I think maybe 6 festival events, and then the others were what they were referred to as club events.
Okay.
And so this was something they were talking about at PRI, which I was there, went to the Gridlife state of Gridlife. But what they decided to do was they actually decided to pare back some events, and my understanding is that all of these events, I believe, are going to be live streamed.
Okay, that's really cool.
So they reduced the total number of events that they are going to do, but they are all going to be live streamed, and I think that most of them, if not all of them, will also be festival events in terms of having the music, the drifting, the time attack, and the wheel to wheel racing. So
Okay.
I believe that was sort of what they were wanting to do, is they were sort of really leaning into what they think they do well, which is the music and the festival atmosphere. And they really
giving
wanted
everybody that the space, right? I don't want to say space, the atmosphere of
the vibes,
what Gridlife is, and I think my old man in me says, I just care about the racing and I just want to see people go fast and time attack and do things. But I do understand it makes it a lot easier to hold these events if you can get a couple thousand patrons through the door, if you have drifters coming through, if you have road racers in. The only thing that always gets me a little on the wary side is just that simple fact of like, well, now time attack isn't the main feature and what we're featuring is something else. But one thing I do like is I do like the fact that on their website right here, I see Cal Fortner, I see the Serpent Stangs, I see Smetagard, I see Stanceworks, I even see our good old friend there. What the heck is his name?
Kyle McHugh.
Kyle McHugh.
Yeah.
You have a lot of cars out there that are time attack cars. So they're promoting the time attack realm, echelon in there, and it's not just all the wheel-to-wheel racing guys. I mean, I know Smetagard I believe that's a wheel-to-wheel car.
Yeah, that's actually that is the only wheel on here that is wheel to wheel. So
you got Forsberg on his.
Because time attack cars just look cooler, man.
They do.
We all know that.
That is a true statement.
We're preaching to the choir there.
I mean, it's one of those things. Like, this is where I'll never understand the sponsorship. I'm gonna go off on a tangent. It's where I don't understand the sponsorship attributes of this, because if I want a car in a booth for a car show, I want a time attack car, because I want a car with a big wing, crazy motor. I want aero. I want all this cool stuff, and I want it to, be at this event. It's going to attract more attention than just a car show car. It's not going to be regulated to the point of a wheel-to-wheel car that can't have a big wing, that can't have a high-performing motor, blah, 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 blah. All the other things, right? It's something that's just unregulated. Do what you want. Be creative. Put a K-Series in a Ferrari. Do those things. But back to what we're talking about. So, special stage. So the special stage is Gridlife taking over for the previous GTA. They got rid of that event. Gridlife picked that event up. They're in Braselton, Georgia. They're going to be doing Road Atlanta. They're going to be partnering with Formula Drift, which has always been like a really interesting thing. I think Gridlife kind of fits and melds a hell of a lot better than GTA, to be honest with you. So I think this is going to be a better partnership as a whole for Formula Drift and for Gridlife.
Probably. And I know they're going to be doing full track drifting, which I'm sure Formula Drift has to be. I'm sure those guys have to be pretty stoked about that, right? Like, yeah, that's going to be pretty. That's going to be pretty crazy. It's, to your point again, as a time attacker. I'm grateful, and you've probably heard us say this. I'm always grateful that they're now giving some of that love to the drifters, because they've been shunned for a long time. But for people who are wanting to set fast times, the drift rubber does ruin the track a little bit. Like, you definitely lose some time. So it is what it is. But that's just part of the weekend. That's something that you have to calculate, something you have to adjust for. But it is what it is. The drifters are going to be out there doing the full course.
Yup. Then we go back to Midwest Fest, June 6th through 8th, an event I have always wanted to attend, and it's always around my birthday, so it always irritated me when I never made it to this event. It just, to me, it was kind of cool because all my family's from Michigan, so it was always one of those events I wanted to go to, check out, be a part of, race back in the day, race my Subaru at, just because it was, I think at the time, like, my family less than an hour away from the area, so it was always one of those events I wanted to go to. Really tight, from what it looked like, and I've never driven it, really tight track, not exactly like a high-speed track by any means, so I kind of like it because it allows those guys, lower horsepower cars, the Miatas of the time attack world, a really good chance at, really taking hold and throwing down some good lap times and winning the event. But just a really cool event. I know it's kind of like the mainstay of Gridlife. That was one of their big festival events. It always sells out super fast. The Michigan people love going to apparently crazy raves and getting wild. It must be, something in the air out there.
Something in the corn, man.
So it's just a cool event. And honestly, that event is, I think all of Gridlife has, correct me if I'm wrong, all the events for Gridlife have already they've been on sale and they're sold out or something like that.
They had, they had released some of the sales for spectators, but the actual events themselves for the drivers, for the participants, have not gone on sale yet. So that is still coming. But yeah, they have started releasing some of the events for spectators.
Gotcha. And just so you guys know, obviously, for SCCA, I believe their first event of the year is open and available to be registered for. Same with GTA for Super Lap Battle. That's open and available for registration. So get out there and register. I presume South Carolina, that'll be opening really soon if it's not open yet. But they do kind of a different thing at Gridlife. I've never actually done it, so I can't really explain it. Kilgore can. But it's a very different scenario where you can buy like certain event packages and do stuff, and it's like couponing for like a stay-at-home mom, but for a racer guy. It's crazy.
Oh yeah.
All I ever see on the Gridlife group chat thing on Facebook is like, does anybody have a ticket for sale so I can go to this event? Please God, somebody sell it to me. So it's always kind of fun to watch that happen. And then we go to Mid-Ohio, so they kind of stick around that Midwest area. They go from Michigan to Mid-Ohio. Pretty cool. Again, like for me, if I was trying to campaign a car and I had the ability to go to Circuit of the Americas, to Road Atlanta, to Mid-Ohio, to Road America, like to go to Lime Rock Park, Laguna, to go to all these tracks in 1 year is absolutely astounding. And Road America itself, like, there's just a lot of cool tracks, right? A lot of stuff available. Mid-Ohio has been a really cool track to kind of check out and see. You said you were there. You've been there, done that, and you enjoyed the track. So great track to check out.
It is also one that I think is, and this I think you get with the pro tracks. You see it with Mid-Ohio. You see it with Road America, Lime Rock, Laguna. You obviously see it with places like Coda, where it's really they have really good access for spectators. Like it's really easy for spectators to get around. They have good spots where you can watch. They have, bridges to be able to get, from the inside to the outside of the track or vice versa. So from that perspective of actually, even as a driver where, okay, I've got like an hour and a half between, sessions, you can go around and you can find some really good spots to watch. So that's also one thing that I enjoy. Mid-Ohio in particular, going there last year, they had some really good spots where you could, get around and watch. But then just at some of these other pro tracks as well.
And then they're going to go to the Summer Apex event at Road America in July. So when I think of mid-July at Road America, have you been there around that time? I have. Like, why do I think it's? Man, I feel like that. I'd be interested to see what the weather's going to be. I feel like that could be like a really sweltering event with a lot of humidity.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
It could be.
But...
Yeah. We'll see. Yeah.
But a really cool event. Road America is an iconic track. Again, I mean, I really do love and appreciate all the effort these guys put into these events to make sure that we go to some iconic tracks and have coverage from these tracks. Again, you stated before, if Gridlife actually has a live stream for each one of these events, I'm going to be super excited. That's really cool. I know GTA, I believe they're only going to live stream the Super Lap Battle. That's going to be the only one they actually have this year, which is okay, obviously. That's the event that we all want to watch the most. But it is kind of a deficit there to only have one live streaming event as a whole. I think they might do something, I could be wrong, for the PPIR. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
You're doing a great job. Yeah, keep it up.
Hopefully we're not live streaming there, because holy crap, I would fail. And then
I was one of the things about Road America, which I saw last year on Gridlife's live stream, and it was super cool. And it was not something that I had seen, and I've watched a number of races from Road America, especially even the like the professional series. And maybe I've just missed it, but I think it's coming. Maybe it's coming to like turn 3 or turn 4. It's one of the fastest. It's after turn 2. So for Road America, you have the front straight, and then you have basically a 90-degree right hand, which is turn 1, a short straight down to another 90-degree right hand, which is turn 2, and then you have a pretty long straight leading. It may not actually be turn 3. They may call like a kink in that straight turn 3, but I think it may actually be turn 4. But anyway, there is a radar gun that they have set up at the end of that straight, and Gridlife actually had their camera set up so where you could sort of see the cars coming over the hill, cresting the hill, and then coming down to the brake zone, and it would flash up their
that's cool.
top speed. And it was really cool to especially see like some of these time attack cars, like how fast. I think Deuce Old was hitting like 180 or something like that, like in his Camaro. And like seeing some of the other cars. I mean, you were seeing the Supras and the Corvettes. You were seeing those guys hitting like 160, which was crazy. But it was just super cool. I had never really seen it before. And a lot of people on the live stream, like on the chat on YouTube, were also being like, make it to where that is up all the time. Like whenever you have this camera angle, it was really neat to see the difference in the classes, the difference in the cars. It was a lot of fun. It was pretty cool.
It gives you a good idea of the disparity between each and what they're doing. That's what we're all interested in. That's what we like about Time Attack is there's different ways to do all these things, and some of it is giving more power, some of it's giving more grip, some of it's giving more aero, and that's what makes it fun.
Yep. I think it also, like, for the spectators, it also allows them an understanding of how fast these cars are actually going. Because when you sort of see them on track, like you see a car,
everything looks slow. Everything looks slow.
160 miles an hour doesn't look like 160 miles an hour, right? So it at least gives them some sort of indication. So that's also cool.
All right, so then we're going to jump into Lime Rock Park at August 15th and 15th through 17th. One thing to note, a lot of times when I look at these, right? So we're talking 11th through 13th, 6th through 8th, 15th through 17th. Gridlife is doing like 3-day events, where a lot of the other stuff is only 2-day events, SCCA and GTA as well. So it's interesting to have the 3-day events. I think that is really awesome to help guys get their setup, do the thing. So that's pretty cool.
Ish, yeah.
It also promotes people to break.
Well, yeah, that's fair. We'll get through this, and then we'll kind of remind me to talk a little bit about what Gridlife said they were going to try and do this year in terms of the weekend event. Yeah, the 3-day event. We'll hit that, but we'll keep going through the schedule.
And then they're going to hit up Autobahn in Chicagoland. So everyone make sure to get some really good car alarms so you don't get your car stolen. Be careful out there. And then we're going to head to California all the way from Chicago and go to Laguna, which honestly, big bucket list item for probably many people. You yourself was one of those people to get out there and do Laguna Seca. I think it's also just super cool to see just Time Attack cars in general. I know there was a big lawsuit thing that was going on between Laguna Seca and the people surrounding it, apparently. Big misunderstanding thing of apparently the track sold them how many days a year they were going to be over the decibel limit, and then all of a sudden someone at the racetrack decided they're going to do more of those days because they were cool, and then people sued and ensuing, and it wasn't as bad as people thought. I don't know. Who knows? But it's all resolved now, and Laguna Seca is there. It's having a good time. And that's an event that I love to watch and just go to. I should go to it. It is, keep in mind, California's kind of a big state. So I think it's like a 7-hour drive for me. So that's fun.
That is one I think I have convinced my wife to be able to go to again.
Okay.
So that is one that is at least tentatively scheduled, which I'm super excited about. Like, I loved going there last year. Had a great time. The track is really, really good.
Yes, it is.
It's pretty easy to learn the track, especially like for all of us who have been,
Forza
car games, right? Like, video games. We've been driving it. We know what it is, but like it's fairly easy to kind of get a handle on. But then there's really only, I think, 2 or 3 turns where you really gain, like you gain some confidence and you start gaining time. Of course, every track has its nuance, and you can continue to kind of find time. But I'm kind of excited. I want to go back. I know that there's some time left on the table. Plus, with the upgrades to the car, I think I can go even faster. And obviously, it was my first podium, with Gridlife. So good
Try to
memories
do a
there.
repeat.
Yeah, exactly. Want to go back and repeat that or do even better.
And then to finalize the Gridlife season, they're going to go to pit race in Pennsylvania, which I'm really interested because, at least in history says time attack up in that northeast area just never seemed to be great. Never seemed to really pull a lot of numbers. So I'll be interested. I know a lot of people had really good things to say about this track. A lot of interesting things about the track and the event itself. So I'll be really interested to see how this event kind of plays out and to see what the attendance is like, what kind of cars we get there. Are we talking about, a bunch of Honda Civics, East Coast, you East Coast guys. I mean, I'm not really gonna say you're an East Coast guy, but some of the East Coast guys have some very interesting taste in cars. So you guys gotta be careful.
Don't you put that on me, Ricky Bobby?
So that sums up our Gridlife full season. Now give us a take on what the 3 days are all about.
Yeah. So kind of going back when I heard this, I was a little. I wasn't sure exactly what to think about it. And you have to understand, right? Jaeger and I are time attack lovers and enthusiasts, and we want all the time attack all the time. So one of the things that Gridlife has slowly been adding more and more series or events within the weekend, if that's what you kind of want to call it, right? So for a long time, it was GLTC and it was time attack, and that was sort of it, right? And then they started throwing in some drifting, right? So that started taking up track time. And now they've started doing the Rush SR series, which is the little kind of baby prototype-ish type cars, kind of baby big go-karts, if that's kind of what you want to call them. So they've thrown that in, right? So that takes up more track time. Well, this year they've now announced a new wheel-to-wheel series that they're running, which is GLGT. So Gridlife Touring Cup, which is GLTC. So now they're doing Gridlife, I think, like Grand Touring, which is basically geared towards GT4 type cars. Bigger, I think it's like a 9-to-1 power to weight ratio or something like that. But that means they're going to get a practice. They're going to get a qualifying. They're going to get 4 races in a weekend. So more track time is being taken up. Which, for me, right, like if I'm being selfish about it, that's a bit frustrating because that just means time attack is going to lose time.
So it's got to come from somewhere. There's only so much time in the day.
Right? Yeah. So what they are actually doing to try and give everybody and maintain the status quo in terms of track time, they are actually going to now this 3-day weekend event. So Friday is going to be the first day. Saturday is going to be day 2, obviously, and Sunday is going to be day 3. The idea with Sunday is that is sort of supposed to be like the big day, the competition day. So, and I understand why Gridlife is doing this, especially from a spectator's perspective, right? They want Sunday to be where if you're going to go to an event like Sunday should be the day that you go to.
Yeah,
And
it's hard
they
to
weren't,
go for 3 days straight. So, like
yeah,
you're saying, I mean, it makes all the sense in the world just to essentially, like you're saying, like to
yeah.
have
I
Sunday
mean,
be the day.
yeah, and I think that a lot of people associate that as well with motorsports, right?
Yeah.
NASCAR, right? They're going to race on Sunday. Formula One, they race,
Practice,
they
qualifying.
practice
Yep.
Friday, they qualify Saturday, they race Sunday. Motorsports, typically sort of races on Sunday, so to speak. Um, and I think another thing, which I think is fair enough, they they were not utilizing a weekend day that people actually have off, right?
Oh,
And they really noticed that out in the West Coast, where uh, people were like, "Hey, I really want to come out Sunday, right? Like I can't come Friday. Um, maybe something going on Saturday. I'm available Sunday, but you guys don't have any events on Sunday, right? Like they're basically doing HPDEs on Sunday." And so Gridlife basically said, well, they're going to cut back on doing their HPDEs and they're going to make Sunday more of a competition day. So the podium sprint for Time Attack will actually be on Sunday, and it is
okay.
sort of going to be. I do at least appreciate they're sort of culminating the weekend for Time Attack into that Sunday, as well as Sunday itself. The podium sprint for Time Attack is going to be in the prime spot at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the
Well, I
afternoon.
hope so. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I
hope
know.
so from a weather perspective. Like, you really need to solidify, give the best opportunity for people to run their best lap time in those time attack sessions. Because realistically, when you're talking about racing, you're all out there at the same time. Whereas it makes a huge difference if you go out at 8 in the morning and the next guy has to go beat your time at 2 in the afternoon. That is excruciatingly painful to try to accomplish. It just
Yeah,
is more difficult. So
for sure. Yeah, I would say
I'll be interested. It could completely change the game in how time attack is ran and run and done. It absolutely could. It could catch on like wildfire, and this is where we could see in the future. And I you know, I put a lot of effort into saying I give them kudos for putting the effort in to try to make these changes, to continue to try to push the envelope and not just say like this is how it always has been and we're going to keep it like this. They're saying, hey, look, we see an opportunity, we're going to try something, and they've done that. That's what Gridlife has done for years and years and years. What I've seen, things that I believe have paid off, and I think there's been a lot of things that haven't paid off, and they've said those didn't work, and we moved on.
yeah,
And
for
so
sure.
interesting, cool stuff.
Yeah.
Glad you were able to go to PRI and capture all that for us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, it was good. It was good information. I will say the only thing is that I was kind of like annoyed about it as well is at least for Grid Life, it was nice for those of us who have regular jobs that we've got to get back to, not having something on Sunday or being able to kind of pack up and leave Sunday morning and have like most of the day to drive was really nice. Um, versus now, I think they are planning to finish at like 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon and then have the podium right after that. But that still means packing up, getting the car onto the trailer, doing all that stuff. Like it's going to be a late day on Sunday when you're actually getting out. So it is what it
Oh
is.
yeah.
I'm gonna go cry about it, but I will still be there. I'll still be there. Like whatever.
All right, so let's take a look at the good old SCCA. They ain't got quite the fanciest schedule in the world compared to the other two, but this is what we got. We got the SCCA 2025 Tire Rack SCCA Time Attack Challenge. They're actually calling it Time Attack now. So I like that because I don't have to continue to say time trials when I'm on a Time Attack podcast. So they're starting off, they're going to have the very, very, very first event of the year. They get to take that honor with the February 15th and 16th, which is just over a month away at Las Vegas Motorsports Speedway. So that's awesome. They're going to, they're one of the very few people that are doing an event on the West Coast per se. And even that is not even in California, which is surprising. I know when we talked to, I lost his name.
John Hunter.
John Hunter. When we talked to John Hunter, they're still pushing that agenda to get into the West Coast. And I really hope, that in due time they get into this West Coast region, I think there's opportunity. I'm going to say it again and again and again. There's opportunity. Southern California is filled with guys that go to the track. We have track events every weekend. They are full. I live near Willow Springs. I see the cars drive by. There are people out here driving their cars on track all the time. All you have to do is give them something to go do, put in a competition, have a good time. I digress.
Let's not digress. Let's take that a little bit further. So there's I guess there are 2 events this year out of these 3 organizations that are in California.
Well,
3?
yeah, 2 events in California.
2 events in California. The
third being Las Vegas, which is kind of close enough to California to kind of work. And then you have the Washington event, which is, dude, that's honestly, the Ridge is the same. Like, from my house, I believe the Ridge is almost as close as it is to go to Road Atlanta. Or, sorry, to wow.
Road America or PPIR?
To Coda, sorry. Wow.
Oh, to Coda. Wow, me. Okay, yeah.
I think it's very, very close. It's somewhere in the realm of like 20 hours to drive. Yeah. So, like, when I talk about the Ridge, I see that as I might as well go to, Coda. I might as well go to one of these Midwest, states to go try those out, because it's very much the same.
So, obviously, this year, Gridlife has
snubbed us. Yep, got it.
They last year they sort of had their West Coast Championship with was it Buttonwillow, Laguna, and Thunderhill?
I think they Willow Springs.
You're right. Willow Springs, Laguna, and Thunderhill. They've obviously dropped Willow Springs, Thunderhill, and so now we're basically at Laguna and finals at Buttonwillow. Now you have Las Vegas Motor Speedway, but I don't know. I mean, we've talked a little bit about this. We talked a little bit about it with John Hunter. What do you think? What do you think? I mean, what do you think the case is? I mean, you say that there's plenty of people, but like, is it because that there are so many events that there's just so much supply that people are kind of like, it's just another event, or what? I don't know. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that.
So here's my thoughts. So we do have a lot of organizations that hold track day events that you can go to basically any weekend of the year. And with that, you also have a ton of events that have their own time attacky, or like there's a ton of these guys that, and I'll throw out an example, Gridlife. Gridlife throws a great event, and not only throws a great event, but also throws their own time attack events. So you have these companies like On Grid that are doing these, and people are building their cars to these rule sets. When you build and same problem you've had with going between Gridlife and GTA. I built my car, and same problem you had with going from Gridlife to SCCA. I built my car for this. The rules are so different. I'm going to go to this event, and there's not a chance that I'm going to podium at this event. There's not a chance that I'm going to survive. So it comes into that realm of, well, why even bother? And I think that's what's going on, is there's too many different time attack styles, too many different rule sets. People have to pick and choose what they want to run, and I get it, right? You're not going to just magically throw a magic wand out there and say, here's the perfect rule set. Everyone follow this rule set. I think that's a big part of it, is you just don't have a rule set that's similar enough where it gives people something to build to that they can care about. So when they don't care about it, well, now they're just looking at, I'm looking at the schedule for the events that I care about. So if I'm running the on-grid time attack season, or if I'm running the Mustang Challenge, or if I'm running, because we have so many, 350Z Challenge, Mustang Challenge, Corvette Challenge, Beamer Challenge. Like, they have all these different things that you can compete in. And I'm not going to lie, like, people compete to win. So if I'm competing in the BMW Challenge and I can go out there and I can get first, second, or third, versus I can sign up for Gridlife and I'm going to be 27th, which one's going to be more fun to go to? Yeah,
for sure.
People want to win.
That.
And I also understand, how how many classes can you create, right? Like that's the whole point, is winners and losers. We have to have winners and we have to have losers. You build your car up, you build your experience, you build your things, you do all your thing, and then you win. But it's just difficult, and I think that's where there is a market here. I think people like OnGrid are taking advantage of that market, and they are doing a very good job to ensure that their customers are happy and they're having a good time. But it's also tough, because then if you're building your car for that, you're not willing to go where in previous GTA used to do Pro-Am events, which gave you let's just say 5 events a year only in SoCal. It let people build their cars to a specific rule set that they cared about. They could run those events. They could do well in those events or not. And then they could have that decision to go, oh, I want to go to COTA now because I'm already building to this rule set. I'm already doing this, and this makes sense for me. It's hard to build an entire car to go to one event a year. And I know, obviously, World Time Attack, right? World Time Attack's a thing. But at the end of the day, that's not something that's a totally different situation, if that makes sense, right?
That's a whole another ballgame, for sure.
Yeah. And so I just that's my thing. I think that's the way that it's going to be, and I think that's why, right? And I'll throw this out there because we haven't announced this yet. World Time Attack Challenge is September 5th and 6th of 2025. And so I quickly am going to look, make sure September 5th. So the only thing close, Chicagoland's close. And okay, so no one actually has an event on World Time Attack Day.
Good.
Glad that's the case. But I just think that's the thing. I think there's a lot of options in California, a lot of options on the West Coast. But let's go back to it. So 2025 Tire Rack SCCA Time Attack Challenge. So they're going to Road America, which we've talked about previously with Gridlife. I've never heard of this track, Eagles Canyon Raceway.
I have started to hear more about it over the last year or two. Never been there. Yeah, it's somewhere in the middle of Texas. A lot of people. I want to say that maybe I saw some video because it was on One Lap. It was on the One Lap within the last year or two, and so people were kind of sharing some videos and doing some stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know anything about it. I think this is kind of something. Speaking of Eagles Canyon, for as much as Gridlife goes to a lot of tracks, like you said, that are sort of iconic or that people want to drive, I sort of look at this SCCA calendar and I'm just kind of like, meh.
Well, I kind of go the other way, honestly. I go the other way because I go down the path of, look, you got Road America, NCM, Carolina Motorsports Park, and Autobahn. So, and Pitt. So 5 of these tracks they're going to are also Gridlife tracks that Gridlife's going to. So if I'm someone who's running with Gridlife, depending on, and obviously I could probably figure it out. I'm not that smart, but you could probably bounce back and forth and go to Gridlife or to SCCA. Go to SCCA for the practice, get yourself ready for Gridlife. Go to Gridlife, set yourself up for a good time with SCCA. And it'd be a good way to go about it, where if you wanted to go to if you were nearby to Road America, that gives you 2 opportunities to go to Road America with SCCA on April 12th and 13th. And then they're going to Road America in July with Gridlife. Yep. So you could practice at SCCA, go to Gridlife, for your full bore, I'm going to give it all my beans.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
So it's same kind of thing with Carolina Motorsports Park. You go with Gridlife in the beginning, come hard at SCCA. So that's just my thought. I mean, they do have some oddballs, like the Las Vegas one, the Eagles
Las
Canyon
Vegas,
one.
Eagles Canyon, Pocono. I don't know. I don't even know anything
Pocono.
about that.
Yeah,
But
like I don't know either. Again, it's in my opinion, and maybe this event is extremely successful. I I'd be interested to understand it, but you're willing to throw down an event in Pennsylvania, but you can't throw down an event in Southern California. That's bewildering to me on like so many levels. You have no idea. Not to mention the fact that they're doing a second event
they're
in
going to
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania twice. Yeah, twice they're
Like
going to Pennsylvania.
and maybe SCCA just has it on lock, and that's why Time Attack never did well up there. And SCCA is killing it. And, we'll talk to John Hunter later this year, and we'll find out some answers on that. But
Yep.
it's a cool schedule in my opinion. It kind of gives you a diversity of like interesting, cool tracks, ways that you can kind of rock the SCCA as well as Gridlife and kind of go back and forth. It's kind of, and I guess this the reason why I say it like that is because back in the day when there was Redline Time Attack and GTA in Southern California, quite literally, there was events where I went to Big Willow and this actually happened. I went to Big Willow with GTA on one weekend, and the next weekend I was with Redline at Big Willow. So I did 2 weekends back to back at this track, and I had to try to figure out like what is my risk versus reward. When do I want to
Yep.
use my biggest and baddest tires? So like at this time I kind of had this mindset of Redline had the harder records to win, right? So I went down the road of I'm going to push harder at Redline, and that's what I did. So it was fun. Like I enjoyed it because as a driver, I was just wanting to drive, so it really didn't matter who I was with. But just one of those things where it was interesting. So,
Yeah.
but
I
a really
guess
full season.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I guess I just look at this SCCA list, and name recognition is just sort of
Meh.
it's okay, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah,
I get you.
mean, other than Road America, but even I know a lot about NCM Motorsports Park, but that's also because it's close and SCCA has been there for a while doing their time trial nationals. But there are still plenty of people, especially out there on the West Coast, that don't know anything about NCM. And so, I mean, I get that
Yeah, they
there
don't
could
even
be
know anything
other.
about SCCA.
Well, yeah, that's fair, right? But like, that could be the same thing about Eagles Canyon. People
Agreed.
around that area are like, oh, like this is a great track. That could be the same thing about like Pocono, maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know, but like just from a name recognition point, like it's just, it's okay. Although I will say this, the SCCA has such a large member base that I think it is important for them to um, host events throughout the U.S. for their members
Oh, agreed. 100%.
versus right. Gridlife really kind of focuses on like we want to go to the best tracks, and I think you get obviously a lot more of that name recognition with those tracks. But at the same time, the SCCA still does a great job because they're going right all the way from Nevada to Pennsylvania, everywhere in between, right? Like they have a lot of diversity in the geographic regions that they're going. Whereas, I mean, we sort of said that with I mean, GTA is sort of doing that as well. They got Texas, Colorado, Washington, and California. The Gridlife is sort of expanding to that as well. They used to be much more centralized in the Midwest, but you're starting to see them expand out as well.
Yeah, and it's interesting to me because, I've watched Gridlife go from like the Midwest Fest as being their like primary per se, and then it just continues to grow and grow and grow and push and push. And I've just been waiting for the time when we get 2 to 3 California events. I have been waiting for. I mean, just saying, they did this stupid music festival thing out in Palm Springs or whatever that's called. What was that thing? All the girls went to it, all the TikTok stars. I don't know.
We're too old for that stuff.
Yeah,
Man.
I'm too old for this. I don't even know what it is. It's like, I don't even know. But Chuckwalla is literally like in the middle of that same idea sphere, right? Where you go there, you're in the middle of nowhere, and you have to camp out, and then half of us die from like not having enough water. It's the same thing. It's all fun. But Chuckwalla is an amazing track. It's an amazing time attack track, but nobody goes there because the infrastructure does suck. I haven't been there in like 2 years. They have been building it up. It's a really cool. The track itself is amazing, but again, like you stated, like you literally cannot go there between like June and September. It's like 115.
Golly.
Like GTA went there one year and they had to shut down the track mid-track because like the asphalt was coming up on, it's like insane. But California does have some amazingly cool tracks. As much as people like complain and cry about Willow Springs, and yes, the facilities are completely run down, but that is a track to me that's always going to be, very close to my heart. Not to mention the fact that it's 5 minutes away, but just the fact that I can go to a street course in streets, I can go to the big track and just go blazingly fast. I get everything I need out of one track, and it's very close to me, so it's really awesome to go to. And I get it, right? Gridlife went to that track, and it just doesn't serve the purpose for what they want it to and how they want to run their event. But like Buttonwillow, to me, they're making that second track. To me, somebody like Gridlife, if you can go to a track like Buttonwillow or Willow Springs, and you can rent out multiple tracks, this starts, or SCCA, right? Talking to John, if you can rent out Big Willow and Streets, and you could have a competition where you have to run both tracks over the course of a weekend.
Right.
We start getting into, like, that's something the SCCA would be very keen into. Like, at the same token, like, Willow Springs always made sense to me from a Gridlife perspective to do something where you have the oval, you have the drift pad, you have Big Willow, and you have the Streets, and you could run all these tracks all at the same time. I guarantee you can get a hell of a group deal on renting everything, and you can literally have all the stuff going on. It'd be super amazing. But yeah,
all the activities,
all the activities. Hell, you could do drag racing at night down this front straightaway at Big Willow. Swear to God. So
that's cool.
It's just one of those things. But in closing, that's the events for the years, guys. Every event that we could think of. We even mentioned World Time Attack, which we didn't even bring up on the screen. But, I'm excited. It's a lot of events. I know that, there's probably, I know for a fact not one person's going to go to every single one. But we can try to watch every single one. Kilgore, give us your final thoughts here. Tell us what we got going on.
Well, it is definitely going to be a packed year, no doubt about it. It definitely seems right, like GTA, I think they've dropped one event, maybe two. GTA sort of paring their events down. Gridlife has pared their events down. SCCA, I think, has maintained the number of events that they're doing. But what I'm sort of seeing here, the thread that I'm seeing that goes through all of these organizations is they're really finding what they do and how they do it and what they do well, and they're really leaning into that. And so I think that that's great to see, right? I want all of these organizations to do well, but at the same time, there's no point for them to just be replicas of each other. I want them to sort of each do their own thing, and they each do it really well, and that's what makes them fun to go to. So it really looks like that's what we're getting. Gridlife's doing a great job with their live stream. It really looks that they're starting to put more money and time and effort into that. They're reducing the number of events down, but they really want to increase that live stream. I hope, this is again me being selfish, I hope that Time Attack gets the recognition that it deserves. At least I think, and you think that it deserves. And I keep telling them, like, I will die on this hill, but I keep telling them from a spectator perspective, they need to start running the cars and the classes together.
I understand why it's hard for them to do it, but I agree with you. It makes it more fun to watch. It truly does.
It does. Maybe one day they'll start doing it. Maybe they'll listen to us. But they're doing a great job. Global Time Attack. We got. I got to figure out what I'm doing in terms of Super Lap Battle. I'm in a bit of a dilemma. So we'll see what happens. But obviously, no matter what, we're gonna have coverage there for you guys. The other thing that I always feel like this time of year, like you're searching for um, like time attack content. You're searching, like what's going on. That you guys keep coming back. That is what we hope to be providing over these next couple months while we're sort of in the lulls. There's not many events going on. We're gonna have people coming on, and we're gonna talk to them, see what they have going on, see what they are doing this year, what sort of preparations that they're doing with their cars. We have a couple of other topics that we want to discuss. One thing that we may be doing here shortly is talking about if Jaeger and I could go back in time and we could start it all over again, knowing the things that we know now, like what would we tell our younger selves? Like how would we tell ourselves to kind of go about doing some of this crazy time attack stuff? So I think that could be interesting, especially for some of the newer people who want to get involved in this sport, right? Maybe give them some advice of things to do and not to do, things to think about. But I'm excited. I've got to get in the garage, man. I've got to start. I've got to start working on the car. But I need to get the changes done to the car. I need to get the car out and see if it's feeling better. See how much faster I'm going to go. And I'm looking at least probably 5 events this year. So maybe 6. We'll kind of see how things go this year. But I'm excited. Can't
All
wait.
right. And just a quick reminder, guys, take the time, go check out some Wush Automotive, some Wush Ford wheels, Wush Bespoke. They are a sponsor of our channel. Please check it out. Give them some love. Go follow them on Instagram. Go follow them on Facebook. They're all over the place. They're making some really great wheels. And me and Kilgore will let you know when ours show up and we put them on our cars.
Yes, sir. Catch you in the next one.